And welcome on back, everyone, to another episode of Streaming with the Mouse. Today, we're going to be talking about the second episode of The Mandalorian Season 3. So get ready, and you're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 147 of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and joining me for the first time ever, but a long-time follower and fan of the show, Mike Noel. How are you doing? Welcome.
Second time, Cliff. I did an episode with you and Cam
did.
for Falcon and Winter Solider.
Yes, you did. That's like peak pandemic.
Yes.
We're just flying through it, and I think when you get to it, Cam got out at the right time. When you start to get into the 150 mark, I think everything just blends together.
He got out. Father. Okay.
Yeah, the father, the soon-to-be father. But you're already there. You
Yes.
got your peace and quiet is being spent talking about the Mandalorian.
Well, I'm lucky. My daughter sleeps for 12 hours at night. So
you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, she's a superstar. But yeah, so I'm very excited to be back. I'm excited to chat. I thought this episode was awesome. So let's get down to it.
I was thinking, you really pulled, if you could have pulled a straw out of a hat, because usually the way the Mandalorian storytelling, or just any Star Wars Disney Plus storytelling has been going, is like, oh, cool, we have this really fun idea. Here's 8 filler, not filler. Megan would yell if I say filler. Here's 8 side quests that Mando's about to do to get to the big call up. And I was shocked when they actually went into the mines the next episode.
I listened to last week's episode and I heard you mention the side quest thing, and I was like, oh my god, that's a perfect depiction of what this show is like Mando, this is what he's going to do the whole season, but he's got to do 9 things on the way down. So yeah, I agree. But I do think that this episode had a lot of good bits to it. So
yeah, my brother and I were talking for last week for chapter 17, and we both kind of had the agreement that was really the most Star Wars feeling episode we've kind of seen for a while. I think it's easy to say that with Book of Boba Fett. I mean, Andor was incredible. You're not caught up? Oh my god, Andor.
That was peak baby Michael.
Peak bait. Okay, now you have something to go back to and watch. Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, both good, but a little bit of a letdown for what it was. And then you get to Andor, and it was this incredible story of early pre-rebellion.
Yeah, I mean that's what everyone says, and I totally have to catch up. I'm a terrible fan, but I really did not enjoy Book of Boba Fett. I couldn't get into it. But I mean, I'm a softie. I loved every bit of Kenobi. I thought
I did too. I just wish there was a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I want to know if they're going to do more. If they're going to, I don't know. Who knows? But I could watch that every day. It was so good.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, I saw it earlier, and I haven't rewatched Mandalorian in a while, and you can probably test this also, but someone replayed on TikTok the video of reintroducing Boba Fett in season 2, and you're just watching it and you're like, where was this Boba Fett during the show? Where was it during his own show? And there's so many people that are like, oh, Grogu's back with Din, and I'm like, so many people didn't watch Book of Boba Fett and missed this entire arc of interlude of the Mandalorian, which a lot of things you can say about this. We can actually talk about that with the news as they're starting to talk, and as we know, Bob Iger is back. He's replaced Bob Chapek. Iger got the last laugh. He replaced his replacement.
Right.
And he's kind of going on this firing spree of just many things, and he has talked about Star Wars. We now know for confirmation Kevin Feige's movie has been shelved, as well as Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, which I was very excited for. I was really looking forward to a dogfight version of Star Wars. Not getting it anymore, but you can see there's going to be this pivot for Marvel as well, which I'm excited about, for quality over the quantity. They're not just going to churn stuff out to do it. And I don't know if you saw the quote, but one of his quotes was, "We don't need three, four, five spin-offs for every single character.
Definitely. I mean, like I consider myself a Marvel stan, whatever, but they have been like stuck in the mud a little bit for the last, I don't know, 24 months or so, where it's like they're producing a ton of content, but nothing. When was the last? I mean, I'm a big Black Panther 2 fan. I thought it was very good. But other than that, like, what was the last thing that stuck out about Marvel? Which I think it was Loki. But
Loki is definitely a good one. I really liked Black Panther, and someone put it really well. Black Panther did a lot and stood out for not having a main character or not
right,
having the main character. Obviously, there were main characters. Um, I thought Thor: Love and Thunder was hot garbage.
I,
Looking back on it too, like
so I
it,
think about. I, I don't know. Cam and I actually talked about Love and Thunder. I think about Love and Thunder like when the movie opens and like Korg is like telling these younglings or
mhm.
whatever. Like I look at the whole movie as if it's Korg's perspective. You know what I mean? So,
That's how I've started to look at it to try to
right.
save
So
it.
like I feel okay about it because I'm like, well, this is goofy as hell. Like you know what I mean? But
Exactly.
it's not.
I
And I'm like, Ragnarok to me might be the best standalone film.
I
That
agree.
or Winter
Yeah.
Soldier, like one of the two of those is the best standalone like Marvel film. And
Mhm.
to come into this and you bring in Christian Bale and you just don't hit a home run, I don't understand it.
And it's
But
worse because Christian Bale hit the home run,
oh, he's
but
brilliant in the film. You know,
is it leaned too much into it almost it's like the Flanderization. They kind of Flanderized
definitely.
Thor. I personally liked Quantumania. I feel like I'm oddly in the minority of that. I liked the comic bookiness of it, but again, people were right where it's like Ant Man shrinks three times in a Ant Man movie. Um,
I am one of the many people again. Getting a babysitter is tough, so I haven't seen it yet.
oh,
But
hopefully soon.
hopefully this week, spring break for me. I
There
mean,
you go.
I'm working, but I have a slower week. The goal is to go see it this week.
I'm
But once
trying
it
to
hits,
think. I think you're right though. I think it's been hard because Loki for sure.
I love it.
Um,
I think it's the best. I mean, Wanda Cam might yell at me for this. Like, WandaVision's good, but I think Loki's excellent. I think it's
Correct, for sure. Um, I was not a fan of Falcon and Winter Soldier for them. It was fine for most parts. It's a good question though. I liked Miss Marvel, but again, there's lows. Like Loki
yeah,
was a constant up. Hawkeye was excellent for a Christmas
excellent.
special. For a Christmas special, great. But that's what
Excellent.
it was, a Christmas special.
I agree.
And I know what you're saying, where it's what's blown away for just the general MCU version of it. And yeah,
Yeah,
Loki's probably it, and hopefully that's what we have coming up. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to probably be hopefully a home run, especially because I think going to be kind of James Gunn's middle finger to everyone
yeah.
that's like, oh yeah, goodbye. Like let's end on something big. Um, yeah, and I think here's another piece of news. I don't know if you saw this. So season 2 of What If, we're getting the first ever original MCU character superhero in Kahori. So the What If season is going to be what if the Tesseract fell into colonized North America. So it's going to be a Native American character that has access to the Tesseract.
I love
That's going
that.
to be one of the first What If episodes. So it's going to be interesting. Star Wars is just going to be kind of going the same path, is what we're seeing.
I mean, listen, Iger doesn't miss. So
Exactly. That's the
like,
thing.
if he thinks that they should do this, I'm good with it. You know what I mean? So
Exactly. And I think he has the mindset for it. And he knows they have winners in The Mandalorian. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Chapter 18, The Minds of Mandalore. Again, I'm shocked we got here in 2 episodes. So, the general thing for this episode, the Mandalorian and Grogu explore the ruins of a destroyed planet. As always, 5 through 1. Michael is even prepared with how he knows how the show runs, has I believe you said a gripe and an honorable mention. So I'm very excited. You can start off however you want, though. If you want to start with the gripe, you can, the honorable mention, or just go into five.
no, I think we go like we'll do my five all the way down, then I'll do my honorable mention in between two and one, and then I gotta save my gripe for the end. It was just
Okay.
like I never have frustrations, but I have
I have a
frustrations.
feeling I know what it is, but I'm not gonna spoil the guess. I'll guess
Um,
before you say it, though.
my number five was I thought the scene where Grogu and Mando are going to Mandalore and he's just like teaching, right? Like he's
Mhm.
just providing this like history of him and his way and all these things. And it's just like he's so good at like presenting this feeling in these worlds to him. And I just thought it was like really beautiful. I mean, I think Pascal's a masterclass of an actor. He does not miss, as I said earlier. But like,
No, he
yeah,
does not.
I thought that scene was just so beautiful.
That's yeah, that's not on my list actually. I'm surprised it's not, but you're right, where we're seeing what Star Wars comes down to in the end, other than it being a story about, rising up to handle oppression and that, where it's a story always about family. And we
Yes,
have this beautiful father-son duo where for the first time we actually have the father and son working from childhood up, where they're always together. Like we were actually seeing the youngness of it, what we lost when Qui-Gon was killed by Maul, what you would have saw with Qui-Gon and Anakin, where instead you see the brotherliness through the prequels. But yeah, that's a excellent point because in even Bo Katan makes a comment about that. He's quite the explorer. He's quite the person to help guide you.
yeah, definitely. I think like you talk about like that's what Star Wars is, and it really is. But what we never see, we always get action, right? Like if you watch
Mhm.
Star Wars, it's just like. But what
Yeah,
Mandalorian I think does really well is just kind of slow things down at times and still fit in all that wonderful action that you expect when you're talking about Star Wars. But this relationship is just it's just next level. It's like their chemistry, which again, how incredible is that of Pedro Pascal that he has this much chemistry with that character who doesn't speak. But it's just like it's so crazy.
yeah, and I think so. Pedro does a great job just with the voice of it because he adds expression to an expressionless character.
Yes.
Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, who are also the stunt doubles and certain walkers. I believe Brendan Wayne is the gunslinger. He's the one that actually knows how to use the guns correctly for like a
Got it.
western. They do it as well, but it's just he only wears the mask. It's just insane how this is whole based around a show, a character you don't see their face. Obviously, this is what we're working on this season about him redeeming himself for showing his face. But the expression and the Mandalorian Din Djarin is so emotional,
Yeah.
and he thinks he hides it behind the mask, and everyone's like, "No, you're not. I can see, I can see through that mask."
I will say, like, just real quick of episode one, that scene, like the actual Western scene where like
Mhm.
the the holster gets shown and it's like like that was just electric. Like, oh, it was so good.
The Mandalorian has done an excellent job showing, kind of reminding people that Star Wars was a space western,
Yeah.
and which is great. And and it kind of, I mean, and because my five is going back to Tatooine because I think the funniest running joke at this point in Star Wars is no matter what you're watching, you go back to the desolate planet of Tatooine that nothing should happen at.
Right.
Nothing should happen on this planet, but yet it is like the center of the galaxy. And I don't know if I don't think people get sick of Pelimoto. I think she is a hilarious character, like gag character from Amy Sedaris. And it's just so funny seeing her hustle everyone. And we get the return of R5, the classic character from A New Hope that was also in last season as well. But just how she interacts with Mando, and she really, even though she's like, "We're friends, but I'm still gonna screw you over," like the car salesman, um, and it lets us get on our way quickly.
Yeah, for him to be like, "Hey, I need this for this droid," and she's like, "Nah, just take this droid that's not gonna help you at all one bit." And
Yeah, do this.
he's
Oh,
like,
you
"Okay,
need a oh, you need a new ship to carry everyone. Yeah, here's a single pilot, single seat pilot.
right,
Just good luck. But it works. It always works out in the end.
yeah."
You're four.
Um, so I thought the visual of like when they're going in the middle of the storm protecting the planet, like just fighting
Mhm.
through that storm, the rain and the thunder, and then you just break through, and it's just like this calm, desolate, deserted place. I just thought the visual of that, the concept of that was really cool. And I don't know why, but it just stuck out to me.
That is actually my number four. Just how it was presented, and we get the first view of Mandalore since Clone Wars. Like we obviously have seen. I'm trying to find the Sundari. We see Sundari blow up in live action, but seeing the aftermath
Yeah,
because like when we talk about it on this show, where we've seen these characters for so long. We've followed Bo-Katan from being a helmet only character to what she is now, Ahsoka fighting and coming to the aid of Mandalore, and it just was all for nothing. So we think. So we think. But like Sandari is what we're first introduced to in Star Wars and Mandalore for Star Wars in canon, and you just see it just decimated and destroyed, and it held so much for everyone, but yet there's still life, there's still rebirth in the crystallization, and it's kind of odd. Why is Din the first person to actually go look?
Right.
And I will talk about that later because I have some very keen observations about Bo-Katan. But seeing it is just so crazy because what we knew it was. It's
Definitely.
very wild to see what happened. It's like what happened to Jeddah after the Death Star took it in Rogue One. It didn't decimate it, or it didn't destroy the planet, but it decimated it.
Right.
But
Yeah, definitely. I think like I don't know. I don't know why I thought it was so poignant that like, and again, like the storm is obviously like metaphor for like the people believing that their
mhm,
planet, everything they lived for was gone, and like their history's gone, and it's protected by this horrible, horrible storm that took him
mhm.
seconds to fly through. You know what I mean? So
Because no one ever. I mean, that's the thing, and the true leader, well, is probably Mando. It's probably Din. The previous leader is just so defeated that
right,
no one would have tried. There was no point to it.
absolutely.
We're down to three.
So my three was another visual. So it's like the jump scare's coming, right? So like the helmet in the dirt, which was like a powerful moment
You just
where
reminded
he
me of this.
looks he looks down and he sees this helmet, this you know whatever, and he's like, oh, like the impact of like this was a Mandalorian, like this was somebody who whatever had the values that he had, and it's got this really harsh moment, and then all of a sudden, like boom, he gets captured. You know what I mean? So like you felt it building up because there was like a little bit of a pause, and like that's
Mhm.
what Star Wars does. But I don't know. I really liked that moment. I enjoyed it. I thought like there was a lot of power in the, and I think that's what he does. You talk about his expressionless being, but like for he's wearing a mask, but you know how he's feeling in that moment, and like it's really powerful and well done by Pedro. But I like that.
So I watched every episode twice in 1 week. I watch it by myself day of, and then later with Courtney after. And I knew the jump scare was coming, so I had to do this like the oh get ready right when it happens,
Yeah.
and there was a jump for sure. But the General Grievous like character, I don't. Did you get that feeling also? It was kind of a mix of Maul from Clone Wars being found as the spider and Grievous to me.
I love that you put that because that's my notes. I was like, the one note, the observation that I really had was like, it was like so. It felt like General Grievous was capturing him. Like he jumps out of that vehicle, that whatever, and he's just like a sentient being, but he's droid like. It was like, oh my god, this is Grievous. It was awesome. I thought it was beautifully done.
And my brother was like, Grievous is alive after that. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna go that far. But it was because that's the thing. He got Bo Katan stabbed him in the same place and he still lived headwise.
That's true.
I have not been to Galaxy's Edge.
Me
But
neither.
there's you've probably seen the videos of the bounty hunter guild that you can do. You can like collect bounties. The
Yep.
eye looked the same. It looked like it was the same. It almost to me, just because ungodly amount of Star Wars information, it looked like product placement to me for Galaxy's Edge because it looked
Well,
like the same eye. Um, but I'm guessing only a few people actually can be like, "Oh yeah."
that's fair.
I'm going to talk about a different thing with that. Where yes, the jump scare was great. I loved the Alamites because to me it was just peak. And I'm not a Star Trek fan really, but it was very much like peak '60s Star Trek where like they're fighting these like obviously costumed characters that are these monstrous villains, but it just worked. And I
Yeah.
like Star Wars is serious, Star Wars is that, but it's for kids. And this was such a fun and silly character that still had danger to it. And I just thought it was great. I want to know more about them because Bo obviously mentions how they are there. They're non-sentient, or they are sentient, but they're almost like sewer dwellers. They're like the
Yeah.
cavemen of Mandalore. So I want to know more about them. But also, they were great fight scenes with Din. We still see him struggling with the dark saber. Um, but they were great mindless villains for this specific episode, leading into the Grievous-esque character.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to talk a little bit in my honorable mentions about like the beings that are alive on
Mhm,
that, so I'll hold off. But I really enjoyed their place in the episode. I thought it was fun. I thought it. That's what like this whole episode just like kind of brought joy at times in an
mhm.
episode that wasn't designed to bring joy. You know what I mean? So
No.
it brought right back to like just watching Star Wars and being like, what is this beast?
Exactly, and
Right.
it really just reminded me, and I know it's not what they look like, but it really reminded me of the first major Star Trek episode where he fights the lizard thing, in, like, episode 1 of Star Trek, the original from the '60s. But we're down to the next 2. I think you're gonna be upset with me for what my number 2 is and what it should what it should be. But you can start. Your
My
number
number
2.
my number 2, I'm a big character development person, so, like, when, my number 2 is when Grogu is trying to force, uh,
Mhm.
Mando out of the cage, and he fails, and he's testing his strength, he's trying to figure out, like, what he's capable of, and when he fails, you could see in his expression that he was disappointed, and I really thought, like, this is the most I think that we've like gotten of like him specifically. And so for him to face some adversity here, I thought other than like trying to be killed, because he faced plenty of that, but like
A
this is
lot.
him facing internal like adversity, and I really appreciated that.
That's a good one. I actually don't talk about Grogu at all in my list, and my running joke now is Grogu needs to start talking soon. Like the Goo Goo Gaga is funny, but I need to start and adorable, but I need to start hearing it soon.
I'm
Like,
with that.
and we're so close. I think we're very close, and it almost seems like Ahsoka confirmed that the reason he's not further developed is because he's so traumatized from Order 66, which makes a lot of sense. But we're getting to the point, and it seems like Pele was kind of not so subtly foreshadowing conversation. That's a
Yeah.
good point. I didn't see that as him failing, but it does. It makes sense.
Right.
And he's able to get out of it without help. He's able to escape the cave, everything, and even use the force to protect him and get to Bo.
Right. Definitely.
So, my number 2, and this is, I think a lot of people are going to be upset by, by this. I don't know. It might be your number 1. It might not even be on your list. But the implication at the end of the episode with seeing the alive mythosaur, which Star Wars, since Dave and John have taken over, have really put a lot of money into the CGI budget for monsters,
Mhm.
and we saw it in season 1 with the Mudhorn. We saw the greater crate dragon. We saw the big alligator thing at the beginning of this season, and then we finally see the start of a mythosaur. For people that don't know, the mythosaur is the mystical creature from which basically gives Mandalore its power. The first ever person named Mandalore, who the world is named after, tamed and rode it into battle. Basically, it's a giant dragon. It's a terrifying giant dragon that was said to have lived in the living waters under Mandalore that Din just freaking drops in. Hilarious. That was hilarious. Hilarious just seeing him drop. Um, but we see it and we see both see it, and it kind of reignites my guess is her passion in for what everything was and all these stories. But the implication of what this beast means for all of this is incredible and very cool. And the start of the prophecy of the second coming of Mandalore.
So it's not my number one. It's kind of like to go back to my honorable mention, like what else has survived
Mhm.
this. So I mean, first of all, you just taught me a lot just listening to you
And
talk about that.
that's just searching Wikipedia as a child for hours.
I love that. But like I felt like once he went into the water, you feel like something's going to happen because like it's not just going to end on a happy note. Like it's the Mandalorian; it has yet to end on a happy note at the end of an episode, except at the end. But I did not expect that. I did not expect this like massive, wonderful look. I thought it was very powerfully for what we've seen so far.
I'll
Like
show it
powerful.
for whoever's on YouTube gets to see it.
Okay, see, like I just need one of those to like.
Exactly.
You want one of those at your house? Like I want to hang out with that. You know,
You want one to conquer Mandalore and unite all the clans.
that's right. Yeah,
But yeah, that what else is living? Who else
yeah.
is there?
There
And
has to be, and like I know that you talked about like Mando's the first one to like break in and like see what's there, like go through the storm. is he?
Yeah.
Like, is there, like, a non like, are there pirates living there? Like, who knows? Like, I don't know, and I think that, like, to know that, these beasts are alive, like, clearly you can live there, so
And it's
let's read
crazy
it.
to think that the mythosaur came from the random little emblem, the skull with the horns on Boba Fett's armor from
Right,
Empire Strikes Back. It's just crazy what George's mind goes to for that. But
definitely.
are you're doing your gripe after one, or do you want to do it now,
I'll do
or do
my
you have?
gripe.
Okay,
Like,
can I guess? Can I guess?
go ahead.
Are you a Game of Thrones complainer with it? Was it too
No,
dark? Was it too dark?
no.
I thought that was I really hope IGN was a troll article because I watched it on my iPad and it was completely fine. But
I I don't, like I feel like I never feel that way, right? Like,
no, I didn't even really feel it with the Game of Thrones episode. But I mean, not too bad.
I feel like as long as I don't know, like, if that's what the creators of the show want, like, I'm good with it,
I
you know
mean,
what I
I
mean?
usually watch these things in like pitch black, so
Yeah.
so it doesn't really get interest. Okay, so you're a gripe. I'm very interested then.
No, it's just my frustration was, like, he goes and says, "I need" like, he rebuilds IG-11, says, "I need this to go. I need him back." Then he gets told no once. He's like, "Alright, I'm good."
Yeah,
I don't
my
know why.
joke.
It's not like a big frustration. No way, like, am I like, "Ugh," but it was like, just like this much of me was like, "What the hell? Like, what are we doing?"
My joke for that was Taika Waititi was busy. That's my joke for it. The reason we didn't get IG-11 is because Taika Waititi was busy doing something else. Because
Maybe.
he is the voice of IG-11. Oh, keep a note, his Star Wars movie is still happening. That's a thing that we know. That's a good gripe though, and I think I was like, why? I'm like, he's really giving up fast, and then we get to Mandalore, and you're like, yeah, this is great, and they want you to forget that he's trying to rebuild IG-11. But okay, number one, we're here. I have a few guesses for what yours are, but I'm not going to guess. I'm going to let you go ahead.
It's gonna seem so lame, but just like the idea that Grogu, like, made it to Bo-Katan by himself.
No,
I mean,
this works great for what my number one is.
and then when he pops out and she's just like she's angry, she's like, "I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna kill him." And then the cab opens and she's like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And like you could tell the internal conflict is gone. Like she's like, "Okay." So I don't know. I just loved the idea that he can do things on his own now. Like, what are we going to get the rest of the season from him or them? I don't. I think him. Um, like, what are we going to get? I loved it.
Yes, and that you talk about the Grogu side of it, and it's it's leading towards one day when Din Djarin is no longer around because
Right.
whatever Yoda species is lasts for hundreds of other years, maybe even over a century. We don't know. Yoda kind of just gave up in the end. Like he just decided, I'm tired. I've lived my life. I'm choosing to go to the Force. You don't know how much longer some of these beings can go. I believe Maz is over. Was she over 1,000, or she was pushing 1,000?
Yeah.
Um, so, like, we know these sentient beings, and if you read the High Republic, there are actually several new characters that live too close to 1,000. But going back to it, Bo-Katan to me was kind of stole the episode because I think the stories of the Mandalorians are very intriguing and interesting, and we learned so much more about her because usually, and like it's not the correct thing, because then you learn more, but she obviously is introduced as just straight up a terrorist. She is one of the Mandalorian terrorists that's trying to usurp the power from it. But you find out it's much more than that, where her father was the previous ruler of Mandalore, and obviously she's the younger daughter. There should be a second sibling in there because there's Corky, but then there's Duchess Satine, who is the leader of Mandalore when we go to Mandalore, and you find out basically their father died for Mandalore, and
Right.
then it drove one child. It drove both children to opposite extremes. It drove Satine to become a pacifist, and it drove Bo-Katan to become basically an extremist and towards terrorism. And just seeing the internal struggle of her whole life, and Bo-Katan is only ever lost. She loses her sister. That she loses Pre Vizsla, thinking they can ally with Maul. She loses her sister because of that action. She loses Mandalore to then Maul again, then it gets destroyed, and then so on and so forth. And then she gets the dark saber back, and then they realize, oh, you didn't win this. She loses Mandalore again. She doesn't win, and that's where it is. She's not mad at Din. She's mad at herself. Someone pointed out that in this episode, there's a blanket sitting next to her throne. She's literally sleeping on that throne. She's not. She's defeated. She's depressed, and now
Yeah, I
she
mean,
finally has that thing to look for again in Mandalore.
you can see it in just like the characters, like heavy eyes and all these things. Like they do a wonderful job of portraying that defeat. Like she's so apathetic to life until Grogu pops up
Yep.
and he's not there, and then she's like, "Oh," and then she like quickly gets back into like her badass self mode. And I don't know. I think that is really well done. I didn't have that on my top five for some reason, um,
I
but
love Katie Sackhoff. She is incredible. I know that her big thing is Battlestar Galactica. I did not watch Battlestar Galactica, but I know that. Did you ever watch The Big Bang Theory?
yeah,
You remember when Howard is having his like, who's he obsessed with, and the woman from Battlestar Galactica shows up in his bed?
yes,
That's her. That's her character from Battlestar Galactica, and it's just funny because she is really just the pinnacle of Hollywood badass. But she's also a giant nerd and all these things, and she was the original voice for Bo-Katan, and it's just great to see her journey through this as well.
I heard you say that in the last episode that she was the original voice, which I thought was awesome. But I also agree 100% about the wig. Like her hair
It's so
looks
much better.
looks good this season. Like it just like looks like it fits her body. It is interesting though, right? Like how they just like wrote off her companions. Um,
I think they ditched her. They weren't there for her, they were there for Mandalore. And when they again see you didn't win the dark saber twice now, because again the first time she was given the dark saber by Satine or by Sabine Wren in Rebels. Oh, you
right.
didn't earn it. Bye. And this one, oh yeah, okay, you have us, but someone else has the dark saber. Bye. She can't catch a break.
I mean, I knew that the now artist formerly known as Sasha Banks wasn't going to be in this again. But I just thought it was so interesting.
You could just put a helmet on somebody, pretend to be it.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if they wanted her back, she would do it.
Oh,
Uh,
for sure.
she's not getting yelled at by Vince McMahon anymore. So, but I
Oh,
don't
did
know.
she get fired from?
Yeah, she's not with WWE
I don't
anymore.
do WWE. There's a few things I'm like I can't get myself into
Yeah,
for the lore. So
she's
she has the free time.
she's wrestling in Japan now, but
Oh,
under her own name because she's from Boston.
I
That
did know that. I did know that.
um, and she's Snoop Dogg's cousin for those watching. But yeah, she's not with WWE at least for now. But I don't know why. Like they must have said like we don't need you back because of this storyline, obviously. But
Yeah, I think my guess is, and like John Favreau has said, there's no end in sight for the Mandalorian, and I think that's because like this. I think the story of Din Djarin is wrapping up within the next 2 to 3 seasons. But that's the trick with it being called the Mandalorian, where Grogu will be the Mandalorian down the line. Where I think it's going to come to Ames, where this is just my prediction for the moving forward, that the rest of the season is going to be about the Mythosaur and combining the clans and fixing everything, and then Moff Gideon is going to be the end all be all, or Thrawn will be, where Ahsoka will be a one off, and then that's the final battle where it's again, as Bo-Katan was saying, us Mandalorians and Jedi, we used to get along, we used to work together. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
right.
Who's still out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think first of all, I've never. I guess for some reason, like I've never thought about, which I should have, of Grogu being a Mandalorian. But now I'm just about him in a mask, and that just brings joy to my heart.
I know the little ears flopping out too. Like it's just great. It's a great idea. And just think of all the money you could make off of those Build-A-Bears.
Oh my, you're
It's crazy. Just as I know we're getting off track, but just how much like I liked the new trilogy for what it was, but the way you revitalized Star Wars with a baby version of a creepy puppet character from Yoda is just incredible and hilarious.
Well, I think well, first of all, I do like the final trilogy or alleged final trilogy,
Yeah,
you never with money. Um, for what I liked about it was the introduction of, like, new things that we had never seen before. But this is just next level, like, this is the best writing that Star Wars has ever experienced, ever. Like, as good as Empire Strikes Back is, which is one of the best movies ever made, like, this is better writing. So and that's a credit to Jon Favreau. I mean, he's and, how do you
Filoni,
pronounce it?
yeah, Dave
Filoni.
Filoni, yeah.
But Favreau's just next level. He's just so good.
Yeah, I think to me what's I like The Mandalorian is itself just beautiful in itself, but the stage to me, because as many people know, George Lucas is one of the founders of ILM, which is the reason Hollywood is what it is today. Other founders, I believe, are James Cameron is part of that, but they're people that set Hollywood forward so many years through CGI and how we look at things. And back in the 80s, George wanted the 3D video stage that they're now using for the Mandalorian. And it's so sad to me that he sold Star Wars because of the bullies and everything and the $4 billion check from Disney. Um and now they finally do that. But you're having John's not obviously a disciple of George, but Dave is. And you're having the pretty much the handpicked successor for George um doing these. And obviously Kathleen has been around since the beginning. She's a producer on Indiana Jones and all those. Um, so it seems to be in the right hands. They just kind of need to figure out a little bit outside. They have the Mandalorian. I'm guessing Ahsoka's going to be. I mean, Ahsoka's my favorite character, so I'm biased, but I think Ahsoka might take the cake on what the story is going to be. But we shall see, and I'm just excited to see what's next. I do think we're going to get a Rey show. I think that is kind of healed finally, and people can get over it if you don't like if you don't like her. But I think Star Wars to me is in better shape future at the moment than Marvel is. That's my hot take because currently Star Wars focuses on the quality, kind of, but for the most part. Where I think if Marvel can bring it back and settle in, and once Marvel figures out how to do Disney Plus, it's gonna work. But they figured out how to do Star Wars on Disney Plus for the most part.
Yeah, I think I mean, my original take is that that's a bold take, but I mean, Marvel is kind of in a deep, deep divot right now
They need
that
to
they're
figure it out.
yeah.
But so does
Which
Star Wars. Star Wars, it's weird. It's like Marvel kind of has the movies going, Star Wars has the TV. They need the opposites. Like,
yeah,
and we'll figure it out how it goes along. Disney Plus is still new. I think at times Netflix still doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, that's a different complaint altogether. But like, there's so many things of figuring it out, and obviously we just need to hope for it. And I guess like just biting off too much that you can't. Star Wars' issue is they announce movies and then cancel them, and then
yeah,
Marvel's movie issue is they just greenlight everything and just hope something sticks. And that doesn't.
right.
Neither of those work.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think that Marvel's got a big hurdle, but I mean, I don't think there's anything better. Marvel hasn't produced anything better than Mandalorian since Endgame, and that's well, I guess No Way Home. No Way Home's really good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just this awe. It's and I don't think you should ever. I don't think we should ever compare them. I love both and all things like that. But it's interesting to see how the two. I'm gonna say pillars. Two of the main pillars of Disney kind of need the others like input on something else to work.
yeah,
Like they need each other's advice, and I think we're moving towards that. And I think Iger being back is the key because Iger obviously basically Disney Plus started and he said peace out. And then Chapek just decided to throw the nuke at kind of just Disney.
yeah, definitely.
But this was a good conversation. We got a little off topic at the end, but that's fun. It's fun to get off topic. Thank you
Listen,
so much for coming. This was great. I had a blast.
I had a blast too. I'd love like whatever you need. I'm happy to come
Oh,
back and hang.
you were definitely invited to come on whenever you would like. This was great.
Yeah,
And
I'm
hopefully the
excited.
viewers think so too. You better. The viewers better.
If they don't like me, I'm sorry. You can yell at me. I'll plug my socials when you want me to.
Go ahead.
You can, get me on. I think my Twitter is my name, Michael Michael underscore Noel underscore. That's it. Just yell at me. It'll be great. And I'm here for it.
There we go. And you can find me at CP Robinson81. You can find the podcast on Twitter. This is usually not me. On Twitter at Stream the Mouse, on Instagram at Streaming with the Mouse, and on Facebook Streaming with the Mouse. If you are looking for other ways to watch this, we're on every possible way to watch a podcast as well as YouTube. So we will be back next week with the next chapter of The Mandalorian. Michael, again, thank you so much for coming on. For Michael Noel, my name is Clifton Paul Robbins signing off. Have a great day, everyone.